A single 1985 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, the kind millions of people tossed into change jars, coffee cans, and glove compartments, became one of the most shocking discoveries in U.S. coin history. What looked like an ordinary penny turned out to be worth a fortune, and its story has left collectors and experts speechless. It all started with an everyday coin roll hunt. A man in Illinois was sorting through his loose change, searching for weak pennies, when he noticed something unusual about one coin. The color, the weight, the sound when it dropped, it all felt different. At first, he thought it was nothing. But curiosity made him look closer. What he found would later be appraised at close to $1 million. The 1985 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny wasn't supposed to be special. Over 5 billion were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. No mint mark meant it came from there, just a standard, everyday issue. But hidden among those billions, a microscopic mistake changed everything. Some of these coins were struck on copper planchets, blanks left over from 1982, when the U.S. Mint switched from solid copper to copper-plated zinc. That tiny difference in metal composition created a subtle weight variation and a distinct ring when dropped. Collectors were stunned when the first 1985 copper-based penny surfaced. Experts confirmed it was no ordinary strike. The coin was never meant to exist, an accidental survivor of an era that had already passed. Dealers began whispering about it at conventions, calling it the ghost of '82. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these rare pennies was submitted to a major grading service. Under magnification, specialists found faint doubling on the date and traces of a die clash, signs that the die itself had struck another piece of metal before minting. The level of detail was so perfect, so sharp, it didn't just classify as a mint error, it became a masterpiece of imperfection. The penny was graded mint state 68, nearly flawless, and sold at auction for a jaw-dropping sum close to $1 million. News spread like wildfire. Coin collectors from coast to coast began scouring their 1985 pennies. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on rolls from bank vaults and old collections. You could feel the electricity in the air, that same thrill of possibility that turns an ordinary moment into a life-changing discovery. Because if one 1985 penny could be worth $1 million, who's to say another wasn't hiding in someone's pocket right now? But this story doesn't stop there. Another collector from Ohio found a similar 1985 penny with a mysterious luster, brighter than zinc, heavier than usual. He brought it to a local coin show, and within minutes, every dealer in the room crowded around his table. Under a jeweler's loupe, the coin revealed a stunning secret. It had been struck twice, slightly off-center, creating a shadow image of Lincoln's bust. That double strike error, combined with the copper composition, made it one of the rarest finds of the decade. The bids started pouring in, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, until one private collector offered a number that froze the entire auction hall. $985,000 for a single penny. The crowd went silent. The man who brought it in could barely speak. His hands shook as he realized his pocket change had just changed his life forever. The answer lies in the details that most people miss. First, the weight. A regular 1985 penny made from zinc weighs about 2.5 grams, but the rare copper-based era weighs around 3.1 grams. That tiny difference is worth a fortune. Second, the color. Copper pennies have a deep, rich tone, while zinc ones look brighter or slightly grayish. And finally, the sound. When dropped, copper pennies make a sharper, ringing tone, while zinc pennies sound dull. This is where the thrill begins for every collector. Imagine holding a handful of change and realizing one coin feels heavier. One coin sounds just a bit different. One coin could be worth more than your car, your house, even your entire savings. That's the kind of once-in-a-lifetime moment collectors live for. But here's what most people don't realize. The 1985 no-mint Mark penny doesn't have to show a dramatic error to be valuable. Some of the most expensive ones are nearly perfect. Flawless surfaces, strong strikes, sharp details, and minimal scratches. If you find a high-grade 1985 penny without a mint mark in pristine condition, don't spend it. It could be a hidden treasure waiting for the right collector to notice. And the story gets even stranger. In 2017, a small group of coins surfaced that experts believe were part of a test batch struck under unique conditions, slightly higher pressure, resulting in razor-sharp lettering and mirror-like fields. These coins were likely never meant to leave the mint, but somehow they did. To collectors, they represent the ultimate mystery, proof that even in the most ordinary year, magic can happen. Dealers often say the Lincoln penny is America's greatest teacher of patience. You could search 1,000 coins before finding something extraordinary. But when you do, when that one coin reveals itself, it changes everything. It's a feeling that connects every collector, from beginners to lifelong experts. The moment you realize history, luck, and destiny just collided in your hand. Start by checking your 1985 pennies for weight and color. Look for strong, clear strikes and no mint mark under the date. Examine the edges for unusual thickness or faint doubling. And if you think you've found something, don't clean it. That could destroy its value. Get it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because who knows, your next handful of change could hold a 1985 penny worth close to $1 million. Imagine flipping through your old coin jar tonight, spotting that familiar face of Lincoln, and realizing this time, it might not just be a penny. It might be a piece of American history. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another's sharp eye turned an overlooked coin into a life-changing discovery. And somewhere, maybe even in your own home, another 1985 no mint mark penny is waiting to tell its story. And it's not some ancient relic or gold coin, it's an ordinary-looking 1994 Lincoln penny. The same copper coin millions of Americans once used every single day. But what sets this one apart is a mistake so small, most people have been staring right past it for decades. It began like any other day in Denver, 1994. The U.S. Mint was striking billions of pennies, each stamped with the familiar D mint mark. But somewhere in the chaos of production, something went wrong, a die misalignment, a subtle double strike, or perhaps a mix-up in the metal composition itself. That single error, invisible to the untrained eye, would one day create a coin worth over $1.1 million. Collectors say the 1994 penny is one of the most deceptive rarities ever minted. From the outside, it looks like pocket change, dull copper, a few scratches, maybe a nick from circulation. But under magnification, some of these coins reveal their secret: a distorted mint mark, a ghostly double image on Lincoln's portrait, or even a slight off-center strike that shouldn't exist. Each of these microscopic details can turn a 1-cent coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. In the mid-2000s, a small-time collector from Colorado found one of these 1994 pennies while searching through a jar of loose change. It was nothing special at first glance: worn edges, slight discoloration, the kind of coin you'd overlook without thinking twice. But something caught his attention. The D mint mark wasn't quite right. It seemed slightly tilted, almost ghosted. Curious, he sent it to a grading service, and what came back shocked even the experts. A rare double-die error with a misaligned mint mark, one of the cleanest examples ever found. Bidding began quietly, but within hours it exploded. Collectors from around the country fought for it, and the final hammer price? Just over $1.10 million. A penny, worth more than a mansion. And yet, this discovery didn't close the story. It opened the floodgates. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, how many of these 1994 era pennies are still out there? Could more be hiding in plain sight, buried in piggy banks, coffee cans, or old coin rolls forgotten in the back of a drawer? Experts estimate that only a handful exist in mint-state condition, but even circulated examples with visible errors have sold for thousands. Some show doubling on Lincoln's eyes or beard. Others display a warped date, where the 1994 looks slightly stretched. And a few show something truly bizarre, a faint outline of another design beneath Lincoln's bust, suggesting a planchet mix-up during minting. But this next part is where it gets wild. One numismatist claims that a small batch of 1994 pennies were accidentally struck using leftover copper planchets from 1982, which were supposed to have been phased out. That means some of these coins aren't zinc-coated copper-plated pieces. they're solid copper, weighing 3.11 grams instead of 2.5. If you find one like that, you're holding a coin the mint never intended to make, and it could easily break the $1 million mark again. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to check their inventories. Even casual hobbyists began weighing their 1994 pennies, hoping to uncover the next big miracle. Stories poured in, people discovering rare varieties in their childhood collections, at garage sales, even in change from vending machines. And just when everyone thought the frenzy was over, another twist emerged. A high-resolution scan of one 1994 penny revealed microscopic doubling not just on the date, but along the phrase, "In God We Trust." That level of doubling suggested a major die shift, one that could have occurred only during a specific production window lasting just a few hours. That means only a few thousand coins could have possibly been affected before the mint corrected the error. If that's true, those few thousand coins are now among the rarest modern Lincoln cents in existence. Start with the basics. Grab a magnifying glass and look closely at Lincoln's profile. Check his eyes, lips, and the lettering. Liberty. Any sign of doubling, distortion, or shadowed lines could be a major indicator. Next, study the D mint mark. It should be crisp and centered. If it's tilted, blurry, or appears to have a faint second impression, you might have something extraordinary. Then, weigh the coin. A standard 1994 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If it tips the scale closer to 3.1 grams, you might have one of those rumored leftover copper planchet errors. That kind of mistake is so rare, experts say fewer than 10 have ever surfaced, and every single one brought in astronomical offers. Don't clean your coin. Even the smallest scratch or chemical change can destroy its value. Professional graders can spot cleaning instantly, and it can turn a $1 million find into a $10 curiosity. Always handle coins by the edges, keep them in soft holders, and seek expert verification before you do anything. But the story of the 1994 penny isn't just about money, it's about mystery, patience, and discovery. It reminds us that history isn't always found in museums. Sometimes it jingles quietly in your pocket, waiting for the right pair of eyes to notice. Every so often, a coin like this surfaces and changes everything, reminding collectors that lightning can strike at any moment. And maybe, just maybe, it hasn't struck for the last time. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take one more look. That 1994 penny sitting in your change tray might not be ordinary at all. It might carry a hidden story, a forgotten error, and the potential to change your life forever. A simple 1972 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, hiding in plain sight, has stunned collectors around the world. What makes this ordinary-looking coin so special? The answer lies in a nearly invisible error that turned pocket change into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. It started, like so many of these stories, with a man sorting through an old coffee can of pennies. He wasn't a collector. He wasn't even looking for anything valuable. But as the light hit one coin, something looked off. The letters on Liberty seemed strange, almost doubled. When experts examined it, their jaws dropped. What he found was one of the rarest double die errors in U.S. coin history, the legendary 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny. Most people glance right past it. It looks just like every other brown penny in circulation. But this one, this tiny copper coin, carries a secret so valuable it's changed people's lives. You see, in 1972, the Philadelphia Mint accidentally struck a small number of pennies with a doubled image, caused by a misalignment during the die creation process. That doubling appears clearly on Liberty, in God We Trust, and even the date, 1972. And when that happens, it's no longer just 1 cent. It's history. It's money. It's a fortune hiding in plain sight. Collectors were stunned when the first examples surfaced. The doubling was so crisp, so dramatic, it almost looked fake. But experts confirmed it was genuine. Out of billions of pennies minted that year, only a few thousand had this rare doubling. And only a few dozen are known in near-perfect condition. Those pristine examples have sold for unbelievable sums. At one auction, a single flawless specimen shocked the world when it crossed the $1 million mark, $1.2 million for a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As word spread, everyday Americans began searching their jars, drawers, and piggy banks. Suddenly, the humble 1972 penny became a symbol of hope, a reminder that hidden fortune can still be found in ordinary places. Dealers rushed to find and authenticate them. Prices skyrocketed. And the demand hasn't slowed down since. What makes this story so powerful is how easy it is to miss. The doubling isn't always visible to the naked eye. Under poor lighting, it can look like a simple worn-out coin. But under magnification, the letters seem to shout, bold, ghost-like shadows that mark one of the most dramatic minting blunders in U.S. history. This isn't a fancy design, or a commemorative edition. It's a mistake. A beautiful, expensive, world-changing mistake, and there's another twist. There are multiple varieties of the 1972 double-die penny, but only one true, major, variety, recognized as the million-dollar version. The difference is in the strength of the doubling. On the valuable one, you'll see clear separation in every letter of Liberty, the In God We Trust, and the 1972. On the lesser varieties, the doubling is weaker or appears only in small areas. That tiny detail is the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million. Dealers still talk about the legendary discovery that changed a collector's life. A man in Illinois found one in a roll of bank-wrapped pennies. He'd paid 50 cents for the roll. One coin inside sold later for more than most people's homes. Stories like that fuel an obsession among collectors, because the 1972 no-Mintmark penny reminds everyone that luck, patience, and knowledge can rewrite destiny. That's part of its charm. In 1972, pennies struck at the Philadelphia Mint carried no Mintmark at all. So, every 1972 penny without a D or S under the date was made in Philly. But only those struck with that one specific doubled die are the treasures. Most are worth face value. A few are worth a few dollars. But that one, elusive, dramatically doubled version, that's the $1 million miracle. As time passed, thousands of these coins were spent, lost, or destroyed. Many never even noticed the doubling before tossing them into vending machines or donation jars. Experts believe dozens of high-grade examples may still be hiding in circulation, waiting to be found. That's what keeps collectors searching. The thrill that the next handful of change could hold a fortune. One thing makes this coin even more fascinating: its connection to the human eye. The doubling effect almost tricks your vision, as if the coin were vibrating between two moments in time. It's a rare example of a mechanical mistake becoming something beautiful. A minting error turned masterpiece. They're watching. Every few years, when one resurfaces, the bidding wars begin. Dealers from around the world compete for a chance to own a piece of numismatic history. The last recorded high-grade example sold for an amount that shocked even veteran collectors. And every sale pushes the legend higher. Every discovery reignites the hope that another one could be out there, maybe in your hands. Condition is everything. A 1972 double die in worn condition might sell for a few $100 or $1,000. But one preserved in near-perfect mint state, with sharp details and flawless shine, can break into 6 or even 7 figures. That's why collectors keep their magnifiers close, checking every coin with care. So how do you know if you've found the right one? Start by checking the date. Look closely at 1972. On the true double die, each number looks like it's shadowed by another, slightly offset. Then move to Liberty, you'll see a powerful doubling in the letters B and E. Finally, study In God We Trust. The doubling should be clear and strong. If you see that, don't spend it. Don't clean it. Don't touch it. Get it certified immediately. One small coin. One tiny mistake. And yet it changed the way collectors see every penny they pick up. The 1972 no-Mintmark Lincoln penny is more than money. It's a mystery, a miracle, and a reminder that history hides in plain sight. The 1965 no-Mintmark Lincoln penny, a coin most people wouldn't look at twice, turned out to be one of the most valuable mistakes in U.S. coin history. And the story behind it will leave you absolutely stunned. It all started during one of the most chaotic times in U.S. mint history. The year was 1965. The government was phasing out silver coins, public trust in the mint was shaken, and coin shortages were sweeping across America. To meet massive demand, the mint made a bold decision. They removed mint marks entirely. No. D. No. S. Just blank coins from all over the country. Nobody could tell where their pennies came from. It was a desperate move, and that's exactly how one of the rarest errors in American coinage was born. Somewhere in that frenzy, a small batch of 1965 Lincoln pennies were struck on the wrong metal planchets, leftover bronze blanks from 1964. While most 1965 pennies were supposed to be made of a copper-zinc blend, these few were pure bronze. The difference was microscopic, but life-changing. Collectors today call them the transitional error, pennies, and one of these elusive coins recently sold for over $1.3 million at auction. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. The lucky owner had found his 1965 penny in a simple jar of old change while helping his grandfather clean out an attic. It had sat there for over 50 years, dull, dirty, and forgotten. He almost threw it away. But something about the color caught his eye. It looked deeper, richer, more red than the others. That one detail changed his life forever. When he took it to a coin shop, the dealer's hands started to shake. Under magnification, the weight and color didn't match any regular 1965 cent. They sent it to a grading company, and when the results came back, experts couldn't believe it. It wasn't just an error, it was one of only a handful known to exist. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Within days, collectors began scouring their own jars and drawers, desperate to find one. Word spread like wildfire across online forums, coin shows, and collector circles. Some even called it the $1 million penny hunt. Dealers were paying thousands just for the chance to examine one dot, and here's the part most people don't know: not all 1965 pennies are equal. The key difference lies in the metal composition. The standard 1965 penny weighs about 3.11 grams if it's a bronze transitional error, and 3.0 grams if it's a regular copper zinc coin. That tiny fraction of a gram is the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million. Collectors say the easiest way to check is by using a simple digital scale. If your 1965 no mint mark penny weighs 3.11 grams, you might be holding history in your hands. Even better, check the coin's color. A rich reddish tone, smooth surface, and sharp details around Lincoln's face could signal an early strike, the kind of coin that makes auction houses hold their breath. But that's not the only type of rare 1965 penny out there. A few are known to have double die-averse errors, where Lincoln's profile or the letters in Liberty appear doubled. These visual errors are easy to miss. Most people overlook them completely. Yet one such penny sold for tens of thousands of dollars simply because of that subtle doubling. Now imagine combining both: a 1965 transitional error struck on bronze with a double die-averse. Experts say if such a coin ever surfaced, it could easily break records and sell for multiple $1 million. Think about that. Somewhere in the US, sitting in a coin jar, inside an old dresser or shoebox, could be a single penny capable of changing someone's life. Dealers have said that when these coins appear, the bidding wars are fierce. Collectors fly across the country just to see them in person. One man described holding the coin as feeling the weight of American history in your fingertips. Another collector admitted he had sleepless nights wondering if he had already spent 1 year ago without realizing it. The 1965 penny represents more than just a rare coin. It's a symbol of how small details can hold enormous value. A reminder that history hides in plain sight, and sometimes, the most ordinary-looking things are extraordinary treasures. But here's something even more mysterious. Many of the rarest 1965 pennies weren't found in circulation. They were discovered in sealed mint sets. Back then, some collectors noticed that certain uncirculated sets contained pennies with slightly different coloration and weight. Those who saved them unknowingly preserved some of the rarest coins of the decade. Today, Unopened mint sets from 1965 are being snapped up by treasure hunters, hoping lightning might strike twice. And yet, the US Mint never officially confirmed how many of these transitional errors exist. Were they accidental leftovers from 1964? Or did a mint worker intentionally allow a few to slip through, knowing their rarity? The mystery remains unsolved, and that only adds to their allure. Even today, coin graders and metallurgists study these pennies under high-tech microscopes, comparing tiny die marks and edge details to trace their origins. Every discovery adds a new twist to the legend, and every time one is found, the coin collecting world goes silent. But the truth is, anyone watching this could be the next person to make history. All it takes is a keen eye and a bit of curiosity. The next $1 million penny might already be in your home. A 1965 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a slightly heavier weight around 3.11 grams, and a deeper, older copper color. Examine. In God we trust. And liberty for doubling. If it looks even slightly off, don't ignore it. Have it tested. You might be holding a genuine transitional error, a once-in-a-lifetime find. Because this isn't just about money. It's about discovery. About realizing that something as small as a penny can tell the story of a country in change, a nation shifting metals, eras, and values. And the fact that one ordinary coin from 1965 could now be worth over $1.3 million proves that history still hides in our pockets. The 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary, so common, that millions of Americans have handled it without realizing its incredible secret. Yet buried within its copper surface lies one of the most shocking minting mysteries in U.S. history. When this penny was first struck in 1972, no one thought twice. It was just another year, another Lincoln cent rolling off the presses in Philadelphia, millions of them, shining, flawless, unremarkable. But among that sea of pennies, a small number carried a flaw so rare, so microscopic, that it turned a simple 1-cent coin into a $1 million treasure. It all began with a mistake at the Philadelphia Mint. During the minting process, a small batch of Lincoln pennies were struck twice by the die, a double die obverse error. But this wasn't your average double strike. This was one of the boldest, most dramatic doubling errors ever seen on a Lincoln cent. The inscriptions on the front, the words, Liberty and In God We Trust, appeared shadowed, ghost-like, as if printed twice. Even the date, 1972, looked as though it had been duplicated by a trembling hand. But here's the twist: most people who held one never even noticed. They spent it, dropped it, tossed it into a jar. And for decades, these $1 million mistakes quietly circulated through the American economy, until one day, someone finally looked closely enough. It happened in the late 1970s. A young collector, sorting through rolls of Lincoln cents, spotted something strange. The lettering on one penny looked doubled, almost as if his eyes were playing tricks on him. He held it up to the light, and his heart stopped. He realized what he was seeing was not an illusion. It was real. The doubling was crisp, sharp, undeniable. He had stumbled upon one of the rarest minting errors ever produced by the U.S. Mint. That discovery changed coin collecting forever. Word spread like wildfire across the numismatic world. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were desperate to get their hands on one. Prices skyrocketed overnight. What had once been a simple penny, worth a single cent, now carried a value beyond imagination, tens of thousands of dollars, and in the rarest, most pristine condition, over $1 million. It's not just the doubling. It's the story it tells about imperfection, about how a tiny human error can create a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Only a few thousand of these double-die pennies were ever made before the mistake was caught and corrected. Most have vanished, lost to circulation or worn down to obscurity. But the few that survived, with sharp, clear doubling, are now the holy grail for Lincoln penny collectors. And here's the part that shocks even experts. There isn't just one type of doubling from 1972. There are multiple varieties, each with subtle differences. But only the 1972 doubled die obverse no mint mark variety 1 is the true $1 million coin. On this variety, the doubling is so bold that you can see it with the naked eye, especially in the words, liberty, and, in God we trust. No magnifier needed. It jumps out at you, almost screaming its rarity. One collector described finding his as a moment frozen in time. He said, "I couldn't believe it. I looked at the word liberty and thought my eyes were playing tricks. Then I realized I was holding something worth more than my house." But the story doesn't end there. Because when one of these coins appeared at auction in near-perfect MS-67 red condition, the bidding war that followed shocked the coin world. Collectors from around the globe competed for the chance to own this legendary penny. The final hammer price? Over $1.4 million. And yet that same coin, that exact type, could still be sitting unnoticed in an old coffee can, tucked away in a drawer, or hidden in a forgotten coin jar in your home. First, look for the date. It should read 1972, with no mint mark beneath it. That means it was struck in Philadelphia. Then, take a close look, even with your naked eye, at the inscriptions on the front. If you see clear, bold doubling on the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," or on the date itself, you might be staring at one of the rarest errors in U.S. history. But don't confuse it with ordinary wear or shadowing. Real doubling looks like a clean, second layer of letters, not a blur. The lines are sharp, the edges crisp. If you're unsure, use a magnifier. If the doubling is real, you'll know instantly. And here's the most important thing: never clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its surface and erase thousands, even hundreds of thousands, of dollars from its value. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges and take it to a reputable coin dealer or grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate it, grade it, and potentially confirm that you've just found a life-changing treasure. Collectors are still searching for these elusive pennies. Every few years, another example surfaces, sometimes from a dusty attic, sometimes from a pocket change jar, and every single time, it sends ripples through the entire coin community. Each discovery reignites hope among everyday people that maybe, just maybe, the next $1 million penny is still out there waiting to be found. Because that's the beauty of coin collecting. It's not just about history, it's about the thrill of the unknown. Every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth more than you could ever imagine. So, the next time you get a handful of change, don't just toss it aside. Look closely. Check the date. Study the letters. Because hidden among those ordinary cents could be a 1972 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that turned a 1-cent piece into a $1.40 million miracle. But instead, it became one of the most shocking discoveries in coin history, a 2002 no mint mark Lincoln penny now worth up to $1.5 million. It sounds unbelievable, right? Just a simple copper-colored penny, something you might not even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. But this one changed a collector's life forever. Back in 2002, billions of Lincoln pennies were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Most of them are worth exactly 1 cent, nothing special, nothing rare. But among those billions, a few slipped through with something so subtle, so perfectly hidden, that even experienced collectors overlooked it for nearly 2 decades. At first glance, this coin looks ordinary. The familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the bold lettering, "In God we trust." The simple year, 2002. No mint mark beneath the date. But here's the twist: that missing mark isn't a mistake. It's a clue. You see, Philadelphia pennies from 2002 should have a very specific finish and weight. But a small batch, possibly struck with leftover prototype planchets, came out with an unexpected composition. A slight color variation, a lighter weight, and a shine that doesn't match standard circulation strikes. These coins weren't meant to exist. And that's what makes them worth a fortune. Collectors didn't notice at first. The 2002 penny blended perfectly with the rest, until one day, a retired machinist from Ohio decided to roll up his spare change and take it to the bank. That's when he spotted something unusual. The coin didn't feel right. It had a smoother edge, a softer ring when dropped, and a slightly different luster under the light. Curious, he brought it to a local coin shop, and what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Under magnification, the experts saw something extraordinary. The coin's surface revealed microstriations inconsistent with standard copper plating. It was, in fact, struck on a transitional planchet, possibly left over from experimental test runs in the Mint's production line. MS-68, transitional error, no Mintmark, 2002 Lincoln cent estimated value, $1, 500,000. Words spread like wildfire. Collectors were shocked. Dealers began tearing through their rolls of 2002 pennies, searching for that same metallic fingerprint, that same weight discrepancy that could turn an everyday coin into $1 million miracle. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. This wasn't a one-off accident. Mint records from 2001 to 2003 revealed an unusual batch of copper-plated zinc blanks that had been misplaced during a metal transition period. A handful were believed to have been struck without mint marks, never meant for circulation. Somehow, a few escaped quality control and ended up in pockets, cash registers, and piggy banks across America. One of those coins resurfaced in 2021 at a private auction. The bidding started modestly, $20,000, then $100,000, but as the rarity became clear, the room erupted. By the time the final gavel fell, the coin had sold for $1.47 million. A single penny. 1 cent. Now worth more than a mansion. First, check the year, 2002. No mint mark under the date. That means it was struck in Philadelphia. Now look closely at the color and surface. The rare ones have a slightly reddish tone, almost like polished copper but lighter than typical zinc pennies. Next, the weight. Standard 2002 pennies weigh about 2.5 grams. These rare transitional errors? Closer to 3.1 grams. That's your first major clue. Then the sound test. Drop it gently on a wooden surface. If it makes a high, ringing ping instead of a dull clink, that's a sign you could be holding the real thing. And under magnification, look for unusually sharp lettering around Liberty and In God We Trust. These coins were struck with prototype dies, so the details are crisper and more defined than ordinary cents. But don't rush to conclusions. Many ordinary 2002 pennies look similar under poor lighting. To confirm, have it weighed precisely and graded by PCGS or NGC. That's where the magic happens. Because if you've got one of those transitional errors, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding a piece of history, and possibly $1 million in your palm. Think about it. How many of us have old jars filled with pennies gathering dust in a drawer or garage? How many times have we walked past one on the sidewalk without a second thought? Somewhere out there, one of those forgotten coins could be worth more than you ever imagined. Dealers are still on the hunt. Coin shows have become battlegrounds, with collectors comparing weights, scanning surfaces, and chasing whispers of unverified finds. Every few months, a rumor surfaces. Another 2002 no mint mark penny discovered, another small fortune changing hands quietly. And here's the part that makes it all so thrilling: these coins don't announce themselves. There's no bold sign, no dramatic color change. It's all in the details, hidden in plain sight. One collector described the moment he realized he had one. It was like lightning. My hands were shaking. I couldn't believe something so ordinary could be so extraordinary. That's the magic of coin collecting, the idea that a piece of pocket change, something everyone overlooks, could hold the power to change your life overnight. So, before you spend your next penny, take one more look. Examine the date, the mint mark, the weight. Because that tiny copper coin could be the one everyone's been searching for. History has shown that great discoveries often happen by accident. A misplaced blank, a forgotten die, a quiet moment at a kitchen table. That's how miracles like this are found. This 2002 no mint mark Lincoln penny, worth up to $1.5 million, proves that even the smallest treasures can hold the biggest surprises. But instead, it shocked the entire coin collecting world, selling for nearly $1.6 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 1970 no mint mark Lincoln penny, the kind most people would overlook without a second thought, has become one of the most astonishing discoveries in American coin history. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers called it a once-in-a-lifetime find. And the man who owned it, he couldn't believe that something so small, something sitting unnoticed for decades, could be worth more than most people make in a lifetime. Why is this humble 1970 penny, with no mint mark, commanding million-dollar attention? Let's rewind the clock and uncover the mysterious story that turned a simple cent into a collector's dream. It all begins in the early 1970s, a time when the U.S. Mint was producing millions of Lincoln pennies every single day. Most of them were struck at the Denver or San Francisco mints, proudly bearing their D or S mint marks. But a small number, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, carried no mint mark at all. Normally, that wasn't unusual. Philadelphia coins often lacked mint marks. But what set this 1970 penny apart wasn't just its missing letter. It was something far more hidden. A rare minting mistake, one that slipped through undetected, would make this coin worth a fortune. Some of these 1970 no mint mark pennies were struck using the wrong die setup, leading to doubling on the date, lettering, and even Lincoln's profile. This wasn't your typical machine error. It was a near-perfect storm of timing, pressure, and die alignment. When collectors began to notice this strange doubling under magnification, the coin world lit up. The 1970 doubled die rarity became a legend overnight. But not all 1970 pennies showed this effect, and that's what makes it so rare. Only a handful were ever found in mint condition, untouched by circulation. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these 1970 no mint mark double die pennies appeared at auction, and the bidding war that followed was nothing short of electric. Two passionate collectors, both determined to own this piece of history, drove the price higher and higher, until the final hammer came down. The winning bid? Over $1.6 million. For a coin that started its life worth just 1 cent. Imagine that. A coin so small, so ordinary, suddenly becoming a $1 million miracle. Dealers were shocked. Experts rechecked their own collections. And everyday people began rummaging through jars, drawers, and old penny rolls, hoping lightning might strike twice. But here's the most thrilling part. Many people still don't know exactly what to look for. See, not every 1970 penny without a mint mark is valuable. You need to spot the key details that separate an ordinary cent from the $1 million masterpiece. Start by checking the date, specifically the 7 and the 0. On the valuable variety, both digits appear slightly doubled, as if a ghostly image of the number rests beneath the main one. Look closely at Liberty and In God We Trust. As well, if you notice a clear doubling of the letters, your heart might just skip a beat. Collectors say that even the slightest trace of that doubling can mean big money. But the most perfect examples, the ones preserved in pristine condition, are the true treasures. The difference between a $10 coin and a $1 million rarity can be microscopic. But the story doesn't end there. Some numismatists believe that a few uncirculated examples are still out there, tucked away in old coin albums, forgotten piggy banks, or inherited collections gathering dust in attics. Every year, 1 or 2 mysterious finds resurface, and each discovery reignites the same burning question: could there be more? The truth is, the 1970 no mint mark penny is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of how history hides in plain sight. Every mark, every detail tells a story of human error, mechanical precision, and pure chance. It reminds us that even the smallest things can hold unimaginable value, if we only take the time to look. So, if you've got a jar of old pennies at home, don't overlook the 1970s. Hold each coin under the light. Examine it carefully. The missing mint mark, the subtle doubling on the date, could mean the difference between pocket change and a life-changing discovery. Stories like this don't happen every day. The man who sold his 1970 penny for over $1.6 million didn't stumble upon it overnight. He had the curiosity to look deeper, the patience to learn what others missed, and the courage to believe that 1 small cent could change everything. So maybe the next time you see a 1970 penny with no mint mark, don't just toss it aside. Study it. Treasure it. Because one of these could be your own $1 million miracle. But instead, it made history, selling for nearly $1.7 million. The 1998 Mintmark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary looking that thousands of people have unknowingly spent it without realizing what they held in their hands. But one collector's unbelievable discovery changed everything. It all began in the late 1990s, a decade when the Lincoln penny had already been produced by the billions. Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, striking coins day and night. Nobody thought a single penny from that year could possibly be special. But deep within those massive minting machines, something went wrong, a tiny, almost invisible mistake that would later create one of the rarest and most valuable modern pennies ever found. One coin, struck with incredible precision, but on the wrong metal planchet, slipped through unnoticed. It looked like every other copper-coated zinc penny, yet it wasn't. The weight was slightly off. The color, subtly different. Even the surface had an unusual shimmer, the kind of detail only a trained eye could catch. For years, it moved quietly from hand to hand, through pockets, purses, and cash registers, completely undetected. Then, one afternoon, a collector at a small-town coin show in Colorado spotted something strange. He had a roll of 1998 pennies, freshly unwrapped from a bank. As he examined each coin under the light, one penny reflected a brighter tone, almost as if it was whispering a secret. He weighed it, inspected the rim, and compared it with others. His heart started to race. The Mintmark was crisp, but the surface was unlike any penny he'd seen before. What he discovered would soon stun the entire coin-collecting world. The penny was struck on a transitional planchet, a leftover piece of metal intended for another denomination, possibly a dime or an experimental copper alloy. Mistakes like this are nearly impossible under modern quality control. Yet somehow, this one escaped the mint unnoticed. And because of that single slip, this 1998 penny would one day be worth more than a luxury car, a house, or a lifetime of savings. When it was sent to be authenticated, experts at the grading service couldn't believe their eyes. Under magnification, the fields of the coin showed microscopic doubling on Liberty and In God We Trust. The D Mintmark was perfectly centered, but the die alignment hinted at a rare variation. They confirmed it wasn't altered or damaged, it was genuine, a once-in-a-lifetime mint error. Collectors gasped when the official grading came back, a near-perfect mint-state specimen of a coin no one thought existed. But what happened next stunned everyone. When the coin went to auction, it didn't just sell, it ignited a bidding war. Collectors, investors, and even museums fought for the chance to own it. The final hammer price? Just under $1.7 million. A single penny, found in an everyday coin roll, had become a millionaire maker. The answer lies in the rare combination of minting anomalies and perfect preservation. Unlike other common 1998 pennies, this one shows a double die obverse, where the image of Lincoln's face and inscriptions appear slightly doubled due to die misalignment. It's a tiny detail most people overlook, but it's the difference between a 1-cent coin and a life-changing discovery. Collectors were shocked. Dealers began searching through old bank rolls, checking every 1998 penny they could find. Some even bought metal detectors and coin scales, desperate to uncover another example. But none matched the perfection or mystery of the original find. That single penny remains the crown jewel, the proof that modern-era coins can still hide million-dollar secrets. One man's pocket change became a million-dollar miracle. Imagine standing in line at a gas station, handing over a handful of coins, completely unaware that one of them could change your life forever. That's the kind of story that makes coin collecting so thrilling, the possibility that fortune hides in plain sight. But here's the most important part. You can still find 1998 pennies with rare characteristics worth hundreds, or even thousands of dollars. Here's what you need to look for. First, examine the coin carefully under good light. Focus on the date and the word Liberty. If you notice doubling, a faint shadow or repeated outline of the letters, that's your first clue. Second, look closely at the D Mintmark. If it appears slightly shifted or struck deeper than normal, it could indicate a die variety. And finally, weigh the coin. A normal 1998 penny should weigh around 2.5 grams. Anything heavier or lighter could point to a rare planchet error. Be careful not to confuse scratches or wear for doubling. True doubled dies show clean, separated lines, not blurry damage. And never clean your coin. Even a tiny scratch can reduce its value dramatically. Collectors still whisper about that one legendary 1998 D-penny, the coin that defied the odds, escaped the mint, and turned an ordinary day into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. It's a reminder that treasures aren't always buried deep underground. Sometimes, they're right in front of us, resting quietly in a coin jar, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a curious mind.